we all agree that one of the most pertinent issues in NADCO was the issue of electoral reforms, and especially the appointment of commissioners to the IEBC. You remember very well that that was a very big debate. Today, we have gone through the process. The court processes have been dispensed with, and today we have a functioning Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. It has already conducted several by-elections, and as a show of confidence in this broad-based administration, all the parliamentary elections that have been held have been won by broad-based. I said all of them. Yes. Just for good record, and we are not, yeah, to say me, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, those are the facts. In fact, the last by-elections that were held, of the 4 seats that were in contest, broad-based won all of them. Again, for good record. We've dealt with food inflation. We've dealt with fuel inflation. We have dealt with inflation that comes from Kenyans spending on education. We spend with the transport costs. You don't hear matatus hiking costs because the cost of fuel has gone up. We have dealt with more Kenyans that are working today. That is dealing with cost of living head on. And that is what we are doing together with you guys. Devolution is a principle we committed ourselves. In the 10-point agenda, we said we must be deliberate about devolution, because devolution is the single most important instrument. In fact, it is the heart of the new constitution, making sure that resources and the power to decide on those resources goes to the grassroots. What have we done on devolution ever since we agreed on this 10-point agenda? Number one, we committed that we are going to increase the shareable revenue. Last year, we increased 30 billion from 385 to 415 billion. This year, we are going to increase from 415 billion by another 35 billion to 450 billion. That is the commitment we made to ourselves that we would do. We are discussing today proceeds from some of our mature assets. When we discussed about selling a stake in Kenya Pipeline, many people said, oh, you want to sell the family jewel, or you want to sell this. We've done privatization before. We privatized Kenya Airways, we privatized KCB, we privatized Safaricom, we privatized I don't know which company. But today, we cannot account for the proceeds of that privatization. We are doing it differently. And that is why Parliament passed the National Infrastructure Fund. It is not an experiment, as I said yesterday. It is what other countries have done. It's what India has done. It's what the UK has done. It's what Ghana has done. It's what South Africa have done. And that is the way to the future. This morning, Leo, I rang the bell at Nairobi's Securities Exchange, and we collected 106 billion from the sale of our stake in Kenya Pipeline IPO. And we are going to put that money in the National Infrastructure Fund. You know, let me explain to you. If we don't have the National Infrastructure Fund, the National Infrastructure Fund gives us a different leverage. It multiplies that 106 billion 10 times. You know, not through magic, no. through innovation, creativity, and financing. And that is how we are going to have additional resources to do our roads, to generate more energy, and to do what our senior here, party leader, was saying. He said, we pretend that there is always an emergency in northern part of Kenya, when we know it's going to happen. Because of what we are doing now, if you read today's newspaper, we have already advertised for several dams. So when I talked about us using the National Infrastructure Fund and proceeds from privatization for building infrastructure, we're not talking about the future. We're talking about doing it now. We've already done the contract for Jomo Kenyatta. That is where about 15 billion shillings is going to go. And that 15 billion shillings is going to enable us raise 150 billion. Just by putting 15 billion. It's the same thing we are going to do with the dams. If you check today, we have already advertised several dams, because that is how we are going to cure the problem of food insecurity. Water harvesting, water storage, irrigation. That's how we are going to eliminate the shame of hunger in our republic. And we are beginning that journey today. When I say innovative, I was explaining today in the morning, how did we decide to finance Talanta? The sports fund has been a fund that has been there forever. That sports fund has not achieved much, because you find a few, a small project there, most of the money is lost, another project there, some cabro in some place, some gate in some place. We decided that instead of spending this money with no accountability, let us consolidate it and do a big project. Today, and somebody was saying, William Ruto has pledged for 15 years money from the sports fund. Yes, we have done it. But at least we have Talanta Stadium, complete, standing here. Tell me, sports fund has been there for 20 years. Which other project has it done? Can you show me one project? At least I can show you what it's going to do for 15 years. Are we together? Yes, that's how innovation works. How are we building bombers? Have you seen any budget have you seen any approval of any line of budget in Parliament for bombers? We are building bombers using the tourism levy. Tourism levy has never done anything for this country for the last 30 years. Nothing. Kuna kitu mara sijui nini, naenda kusponsor kitu moja hapo, naenda kusponsor pale, nagawiwa sijui waziri achukue pesa ngapi, sijui nani achukue pesa ngapi. Today, that money is building bombers. Friends, that is how thinking out of the box looks like. Kwani mlikuwa mnafikiri thinking out of the box ni kufanya kitu gani?